In a time of turbulent insurrections in the South, living among the backlash towards blacks and the destruction of towns, was one man who decided to move west to build a city where his people could have an opportunity to be free. The name of the settlement was Blackdom. Blackdom was a town built for black settlers in the West in the early 1900s. It was considered the first black town in the New Mexico territory at the time and was started in its own special way.
Blackdom marketed itself as a refuge. So a refuge is for refugees. You're not really going to want to put a target on it. So to call it Blackdom, you could see that there was a larger idea behind this settlement. There was a larger understanding of culture and what was necessary at the time.
The plan was to create a place where black men and women could completely be free from the oppressive oppositions of the South. A place where settlers could raise and teach their children without fear of harm because of the color of their skin. Frank Boyer was the founder of Blackdom. The Georgia-born and bred military preacher would hear stories from his father, Henry Boyer, who would tell him as a boy about his journeys out west during his time in the Army. His father was a wagoner in the Mexican-American War and would tell Frank all about the beautiful unclaimed land in the West. Frank would carry these stories from his youth into his adulthood and follow a path that would potentially give him all that he needed to make his way out west in the future. Frank Boyer would go on to attend Morehouse and Fisk University, where he studied to become a minister and learn about the legal requirements of homesteading, or how to acquire government land for development. In schooling, he would also meet his wife, Ella Louise McGruder, who was a teacher who graduated from the Haynes Institute. They both shared the same dream, to build a black settlement.
Because he was a black minister, trained at Morehouse, so he had friends, he had a connection. He was trained in the military because he was a Buffalo soldier, so he had friends, he had officers, he had all kinds of things.
Even though Frank and Ella were very educated, had 4 kids, and seemed to thrive in Georgia, they were still faced with racism and discrimination at every turn after Reconstruction. Not only were their lives threatened, but also the livelihood of sharecropping became the norm in the South, and white supremacists flexed their dominance.
The life of the average family was extremely hard because in theory they were free. But the reality of that was just like the reality of sharecropping. It said you're earning a living, but yet at the end of the year you were deeper in debt and you were tied more to the land. So many things had been stripped from the average black family that they saw no other choice but to go and find a separate place where they could live as separate individuals. They were willing to take that chance. They felt we have no other choice. We either become subjected to this ongoing oppression or we begin to take our lives in our hands.
Not only was Frank a witness of murder, he himself was also threatened by the Ku Klux Klan members. His father told him to flee to the west where he would be safe and away from potential danger. The struggle was leaving his wife and his 4 children behind to pursue a better life. He made a promise with his family that he would send for them once he found a place to settle. A friend and student, Dan Keyes, joined him on his quest where they would travel nearly 2,000 miles on foot to New Mexico, picking up numbers of jobs on the way. 3 years later, he would send for his wife and kids, and they would make a way in Dexter, New Mexico, farming hay and alfalfa. They would collect their money and search for uninhabited land nearby as they continued steady to complete their dream of forming a black settlement. In September 1903, their dreams came true as 13 black men led by Frank Boyer signed the Articles of Incorporation to establish the Blackdom Town Site Company to build the town. Blackdom was located on a direct route to the Dexter train station to the east, and Artesia, another New Mexico Territory boomtown, 20 miles south. West of Blackdom was Apache land. Blackdom was also 20 miles south of the city of Roswell. At the time of conception in Blackdom, there could be found a church that doubled as a school, a post office, a few houses which include the 2-bedroom home of the Boyers, and a flowing well of artesian water that would help with farming. The Boyers would run advertising calling for other oppressed blacks to join them in their new town site. By 1908, 300 black people would come to settle, farm, and live in Blackdom.
So they went from slavery to freedom in half a generation. So you had people who were in the town site company who were born under the institution of slavery, their family was born, and then the first child born out of slavery, namely Boyer, became the president of the Blackdom Town Site Company. And so when he created that, he brought his family, who were born under the institution of slavery, to this place that they called Blackdom for black sovereignty.
They would put together Juneteenth celebrations in the city with their residents and invite white and Native American settlers in nearby cities. Life seemed perfect for the settlers of Blackdom, but the elements, drought, and unfortunate events would lead to this disaster. In 1916, worms destroyed the crops. Then water in the area grew scarce. It became difficult for settlers to improve the land per the requirements of the Homestead Act, and many of the settlers started to move away to Roswell and Dexter as the drought took hold. Things seemed as if they were looking up when oil was found in 1919. The residents started the Blackdom Oil Company, and its single largest investor was Mittie Moore Wilson, an African-American brothel owner in Roswell. Blackdom Oil contracted with the New York-based National Exploration Company to drill wells in the area. This helped Blackdom become officially incorporated in 1921 and gain much revenue for the residents of the town. But by then, most of the people were gone because of the heavy drought. Frank and his family's home was foreclosed on, and Frank went on to Vado, New Mexico, which is another city that Frank Boyer established. The residents continued to make money off of the oil wells until 1929, when the Great Depression ensued and ended Blackdom's future as an independent town. Town leaders dissolved Blackdom in 1930. Today, the town only sports a commemorative plaque and a few ran-down structures that were destroyed by the desert elements.
It didn't fail because of any human actions. It failed because of nature.
A lot of times we talk about the 20s and we talk about the Harlem Renaissance, but what we rarely, if ever, understand is that it's a part of a larger movement. And how you see the Harlem Renaissance over there, and we glorify that, realize that in New Mexico, black people were in the middle of a renaissance, going from porters and maids to oil barons.
So the West was an escape valve. It was a haven. It was the promised land. It was like a magnet drawing people from something bad. It was like the legacy of the children of Israel leaving an oppressed bondage and going to find freedom to establish their own property in their own land.
So, if you're taking a trip to New Mexico, make sure that you stop by the first New Mexican black settlement. Pay it a visit. And remember how it started. Remember what was there. Make sure that you give this video a like, and make sure that you give me a subscribe if you like the content that I've been releasing lately. I would most definitely appreciate it if you would do that. If you like this video as well, please make sure that you share it with somebody. Till next time, y'all.